Welcome to the Hyman Cast, a podcast of the Hyman Settlement School, where we explore the history, culture, and people that make the Hyman Settlement School what it is today, and how this historic institution will continue to serve its mission of celebrating heritage and changing lives in Central Appalachia. I'm Corey Terry.
And I'm Jordan Collins.
And welcome to episode number 14 of the Hyman Cast, and we are on site today at the Holly Hill Inn in Midway, Kentucky. And we are with a very special guest, Miss Ouita Michel, today. Ouita, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's a joy to be back here in Midway again. We were here, I guess, last month, about this time last month.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Asking about the same questions.
Yep.
But, you know, we got a nice burger out of it from the Wallace Station.
That's true. That is true. I really wanted to go get that hot brown burger again today, but I didn't think I had time to get there and then here in time. So,
Plus, it makes you go to sleep.
Yes, it was very, very, very filling. That one.
We got a lot done before lunch, and after lunch, we just coped.
Yeah,
just kind of sat. Mostly.
Yeah, I was really I should not have finished it. I was so full, but I was like, this thing is so delicious. I'm going to get this down. I'm going to conquer this thing.
Yeah, you had a good solid moment where you sat for a minute.
Yeah, I had to take a break.
Yeah, I'll finish it.
Yeah, I eventually got it all down. It was a good and bad decision at the same time.
You just feel bad about yourself afterwards, but in the moment.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, so, all right, so we got a lot of things going on with Ouita right now with the settlement school, and she's also got a lot of things going on. So, and also, I realized on the way up here, this is our first podcast with a board member, so Ouita is on our board. Yeah.
I'm so honored.
Yeah, so that's another thing Ouita's up to with the settlement school. We'll talk more about that and how she got involved with the settlement school later on. But first, Ouita, we always like to get the origin story of our guest.
Origin story.
The origin story. And talk a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up at, and your childhood and various details, where you went to school, those sorts of things. We like to get that information.
Okay. Well, I moved to Lexington in 1972, and I was 8 years old. And my parents were from Wyoming, and I was born in Wyoming. And my father, and I still have a lot of family in Wyoming. My father had his first job, and it was as a young medical school professor at the University of Kentucky. So I grew up on State Street, the famous street for couch burning now.
Oh, I know all about it.
Oh, I should have known. You're over there with your blowtorch trying to... No.
I didn't set anything on fire because we weren't winning. But
Jordan does have a history with pyro. So.
Jordan, bad boy. Well, I had a idyllic childhood there on State Street, and went through Maxwell Elementary and Morton Junior High School and Henry Clay High School and the University of Kentucky. And in 1987, I decided I really wanted to cook. I had really fallen in love with restaurant culture through being on the UK debate team. That's how I got into restaurants. I know that sounds weird.
Yeah, that transition.
But we would travel all around the country to the different debate tournaments. So Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and each city we'd end up going to a different kind of restaurant. And I just fell in love with it. And I developed real close friends on debate teams all across the country. And we all loved to cook. We all loved to drink wine. And we would have dinner parties and things. So I got my family had always been, my mother was a really great cook. My grandmother was a really great cook. So I was already interested in cooking as a child, but I never knew it could be a profession. So in 1987, I moved up to New York City. I had two roommates. And my dad packed all my stuff up in a U-Haul trailer, and we pulled it up there. And I opened up the New York Times and got a job in a restaurant. That's literally how I started becoming a chef. And a couple of years after that, I enrolled in the Culinary Institute of America, which is in Hyde Park, New York. And that was in 1989. And the first day of school, I met a young man named Chris Michel, and we later married. And so I met my husband the first day of school and made so many really good friends. And then after culinary school, I just started cooking, cooked in New York for a few more years, and then came home in 1993 and have been back in Kentucky ever since then.
Where'd you end up cooking at?
In New York City?
Yeah.
Well, I started at a macrobiotic restaurant called the Health Pub.
What is a macrobiotic?
And macrobiotic, it's a vegan diet. Well, primarily vegan. In that particular restaurant, there were no animal products of any kind, and we ground all our own flour and ground all our own corn. But in the macrobiotic system of eating, there are yin foods and yang foods, and you want to eat things in a balance. So they assign different characteristics to foods. And so it's a very interesting philosophy of eating.
It's almost like spiritualism mixed with food.
It is. It is spiritualism mixed with food. And the Chinese have a system where they have 5 elements: wind, earth, fire, water, and I'm forgetting the last one. And foods can fall into those different have those different elemental natures, and you want to eat in a balance. It's a lot to keep track of. It's more complicated than Weight Watchers, for sure.
Yeah. So you got your
I got my start there, and I worked in a couple of great seafood restaurants called John Clancy's. I worked in a Southwestern restaurant called Arizona 206. All of them were in the upper echelons of kind of New York restaurants, but I don't think any of them are still open today. But the most interesting job I had in New York City was I worked for a company that catered all the Shakespeare in the Park performances, and it was an amazing experience. So I worked for an entire summer in the middle of Central Park, and we had a little kitchen behind the stage where we would prepare all the foods and then sell them. So I got to meet Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward and Kevin Kline, and it was pretty exciting. Cool. Yeah.
So you moved back here in 1993. How did your journey happen? Starting your own restaurants and becoming a chef here
in Kentucky.
Here in Kentucky.
Well, we came back. We didn't plan on staying. I planned on just come back and plan the wedding. Chris asked me to marry him, and so I was planning on moving back to New York. I thought I would end up in New York, but when I got back to Kentucky, I just realized how much I had missed my family, and not just my family, but how we live in Kentucky. We take it for granted, the pace of life, the beauty that we live in, just everything. And so I just didn't want to go back. And Chris loved it here too. Thankfully, he came down here. He started missing me real bad, so he moved down. And we ended up staying. I started out at Dudley's Restaurant in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm very good friends with Debbie Long, who owns that restaurant. And Chris was the pastry chef there for a while. And then I went to work for a catering company, Dupree Catering, Harriet Dupree. And eventually, Chris and I ended up opening a big restaurant out on Tates Creek Road called Emmett's Restaurant, which is no longer there. And I was the chef, and Chris was the general manager. And that kind of set up our partnership. And from there, we had the opportunity to buy the Holly Hill Inn, and we jumped on it. And that was 20 years ago. The 20th anniversary of our opening night here at Holly Hill Inn is May 9th, 2001, so it's coming up. And it is Mother's Day this year, so it'll be interesting. I'll be hard at work here and also celebrating the 20th anniversary of our opening night.
Awesome.
And that's where we are right now is the Holly Hill Inn. So if you enjoy this nice scenery, come on by.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a beautiful, beautiful place. Last time we were here was the first time I was here, and my farming mind immediately saw the fields next door and just thought, I want to make all of that gardens right now.
Let's till it all up.
Yes.
We're working on that, Corey. I mean, we have a new garden going in on the other side of my house. So we own the inn and our home and 2 acres, and inside of a 10-acre lot. And our neighbors, Mike and Amy Perry, this home was Amy's great-grandparents' home. We bought it from her father. And so they own 8 acres in their house, which is on the right side of Holly Hill, and we own 2 acres, the Holly Hill in our house, which is on the left side of the Holly Hill Inn. So we have a lot of gardening going in.
Oh, yeah. Be awesome, too. I can envision it. It's a beautiful sight in my head.
Yeah. I just have a tomato plant growing on my porch. That's as far as
That's it?
That I started for you and just handed to you, and you were like, I got a tomato plant.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It's the tomato plant that I'm growing. Not that I grew, that I'm growing.
That you're continuing to maintain.
Yeah,
I started.
maintaining. That's all I'm trying to do day to day.
I started harvesting cucumbers out of our greenhouse this weekend. They're quite delicious.
Ooh.
Very happy about it.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, you don't normally get cucumbers until like June around here.
No, I know. That's great.
So tell us a little bit more about the story of Holly Hill Hen and the history of it, and kind of how that inspired the different names of your other restaurants and how those got started and that sort of thing.
Sure. Well, Holly Hill Inn was started as a restaurant in 1979. It is a 150-year-old home, and some parts of it are older than that. There are parts of it that date back to 1845, but not the whole house. And like the front porch was put on in 1900. So it's the most recent addition to Holly Hill. The footprint has not changed since 1900 when they added the front porch. And they put that front porch on in concrete so the children could roller skate. So the Parrish Rouse family, it was Ike Parrish who bought it in 1900, and he had a large tobacco cattle operation across what is now I-64, and he moved. The inn in this lot is inside the city limits of Midway, so he moved here so his children could go to school more easily in Midway. And it was in the family until 2000. I mean, in December 29th of 2000, Chris and I bought it, and had remained in the Parrish Rouse family for 100 years, and we bought it. I don't think we'll hold on to it 100 years. I don't know. Maybe if I last that long. But it is a rare environment because it's hard to find a place that's this old where you can come in and have dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been in continuous operation. We closed down for about 3 months at the beginning of 2001 and did a bunch of renovations, and have been basically constantly renovating since then. But it's an honor, to be able to be the stewards of this property. I guess where was I going with the rest of that? But we knew when we bought it, we wanted it to be centered around local agriculture. And we had a vision in our minds. We don't call it fine dining, we call it nice dining, because this was a farm family and a farm home. And so it walks a line between just being a very welcoming, eclectic environment and being a nice place to sit down and eat a meal.
Mm-hmm.
We say to people, it's not dinner and a movie because you'll miss the movie.
And I know Honeywood, the name of Honeywood was inspired some way from this, right?
Yeah, so we have one of our newest restaurants is Honeywood. It's in the Summit at Fritz Farm, which is a development at the corner of Nicholasville Road and Man of War. And the question is always like, well, how do you link a new development like that to what you're already doing if what you're doing is operating in a 150-year-old home in the middle of a more rural area? Honeywood Parrish Rouse grew up at Holly Hill Inn. Her father was Isaac Parrish, and her son was Ike Rouse, and we bought the Holly Hill Inn from Ike. So we have pictures of Honeywood in the foyer, and when we were looking for a name for the new restaurant, it just popped out as part of a storytelling of Holly Hill Inn. Somebody said, well, you ought to name the restaurant Honeywood. So that's why that restaurant is called Honeywood. And if you look at the logo for Honeywood, there's a spring beauty. In our logo is the spring beauty because we felt Honeywood Parrish Rouse was a spring beauty, and the spring beauties populate the yard. And so it's all about tying all of us together through the generations and through landscape and through, all different, and through local agriculture. We've tried to name all the different restaurants that we have. Honeywood is a person name. A lot of our restaurants are based on place because we want to preserve a sense of place. So Wallace Station is a little country deli over here that we have on Old Frankfort Pike, and it was always Wallace, Kentucky. It had a postmark. It was always Wallace Station. Holly Hill Inn was named in 1979 when it was opened as a restaurant because of the big holly trees out front, so we wanted to keep that name. Windy Corner Market, which is at the corner of Bryan Station and Muir Station Road, it always was called Windy Corner Market. There was a gentleman who ran that. It was a little country store who ran that store, and he was very talkative, and so they called him Windy. But it also happens to be very breezy out there. And then Smithtown Seafood is based in the neighborhood Smithtown. So it's named for Smithtown, the neighborhood that it's in.
Wallace Station, that was on diners, drive-ins, and dives, right?
Yes. Yeah. Guy Fieri drove his little red, what is it, a Corvair? No, it's
I can see it, but I don't know what it is.
You know what I mean? Camaro. Convertible red Camaro up Old Frankfort Pike and parked it at the restaurant for 2 days. It was pretty nice because it was very identifiable and super exciting to be on that show.
And that is where you can get that hot brown cheeseburger that will change your life as well. So check that out.
It changed Corey's.
Yes, I do love a hot brown. What was I thinking?
I don't know where we are.
The cheeseburger went right to his brain.
The cheeseburger has consumed my mind. I was going to ask. I was going to talk about the pandemic and how you have adapted to that in the past year.
Well, it was startling. I mean, we saw it coming in February. You know, everybody I think felt something was happening. So, but when the governor closed down dining rooms, I believe it was March 13th of 2020, you just immediately start to pivot. I mean, you got to figure something out. It was tough because we had payroll coming up, and our employees really depend on us for their stability and financial situation. But we made it through. We had the help of our family members and friends who loaned us money to get to the bridge loans to get to the larger PPP money. And once that happened, our situation stabilized quite a bit. And when you're free from that much anxiety, then you can start to make like concrete decisions about how you're going to move forward. So we immediately, Holly Hill Inn, interestingly enough, never closed. We never had a single positive case of COVID-19 at the Holly Hill Inn amongst our staff, and we delivered meals every week. So, I was very proud of this team. We did have positive COVID tests at all the other restaurants, and we tried to be as transparent as we could about that for our staff and the health of our clientele. And we would always just tell everybody, hey, we had a positive test. We shut down for a couple of days. We would clean and disinfect, give everybody a chance to get tested, and then reopen. And we never had any workplace spread. But I think part of that was because we knew we were going to close and open, and we just tried to accept what we were going to have to do and really communicate about it. We immediately did online ordering, even here at Holly Hill, where we're all technologically challenged, and at all of the restaurants. So you could... In the past, you may have been in a long line at Windy Corner at Wallace Station, but now you can go online and order. And so the line now at both of those restaurants and at Smithtown is digital. So you may not see it, but it's there. Look at all the tickets hanging on the wall that they're working on. So it's been a great learning experience, and we're not through it yet. We're at a different place right now, thankfully, than we were last spring at this time. Last April, all of us were at home, stay-at-home orders. Yeah. And now it's a beautiful spring, and we're at 75% capacity. And, in the state of Kentucky, we're at almost 2 million people vaccinated. Most of my staff, I would say 80% are vaccinated. I've been fully vaccinated. So I feel a sense of relief for that, because the most important thing to me was that no one gets sick. And knock on wood, that we were able to dodge that bullet. And now I feel like the new situation that we're in is it's very busy. It's getting very busy for the level of staffing that we have. It's very difficult to hire right now. So we're a little bit out of balance. And I had somebody ask me today, I'm begging for forgiveness. Just forgive us. We're learning. We've got new people. We're training. We're just running as fast as we can.
Well, you'd rather be too busy than not busy. So.
Well, yes, that's exactly right. And it'll take a while before people feel comfortable coming back into work in a restaurant. Right. So we have a very loyal staff that's been with us from the very beginning, and honestly totally indebted to them for the work that they've done to save our company. But on the other hand, there are lots of people, young people, who probably walked away from the restaurant business vowing never to return. And so it's my job to kind of try to win them back. Come on back and give us a try.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would expect from the changes that that restaurants have had to make from the past year that are going to be more of a permanent aspect of the restaurant industry?
I think that the delivery, delivery is going to be permanent. I'm working with a local delivery co-op that in Lexington that I feel is going to change the model for the delivery app, which I'm very excited about. I think online ordering is going to be something we always wanted to do it before the pandemic, but the pandemic forced us into it, which was really good. But in our company, what we've tried to say is we want to come back better, and we want to be more intentional about everything that we do. So we want the guest experience to be better, and we're working on that now. It may not seem like it, but we really are. And so we've done a ton of facility work, a ton of, we're working on new menus for Honeywood. New menu for Honeywood is getting ready to release. A new menu for Zim's is getting ready to release. And then Windy Corner will release a new menu there as well. So it's a lot right now of menu development.
I was actually pretty hurt. I seen that Zim's was participating in that chicken sandwich contest, and I wanted that Grippo chicken sandwich, and I missed it by 10 days.
Yeah, we was like, we was trying to decide where we was going to eat on our way up, and we remembered that the Grippo's chicken sandwich was a thing, and we were like,
I almost got into a fist fight. I'm like, they don't have it, Corey. I've already had my heart broken.
Well, we'll probably bring it back. We kind of wanted to test drive it for that event, but I think it might make it to the menu. So we needed to pressure test it, to see if we could keep up with it, and it did it. We did it. Pressure tested us for good. I mean, it was like So it was fun. It's really fun to develop those things. That was an idea of a young man who works here, and he's a musician, but not traditional music. He's a rapper, and I said, "Well, Bryson, I love your music, but I can't listen to it because there's too many cuss words," And he said, well, I want my food to reflect from my music. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? He was like, playful, fun. I want it to jive and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, let's figure out what that means. And we came up with that together.
What's his last name?
Hudnall, Hudnall.
There's another rapper by the name of Bryson. I thought it was Bryson Taylor. I was like.
You can find him on Insta, but I have no idea what his Instagram.
Okay, we like to give free plugs, so we were gonna help him out, but. Sorry, Bryce.
I think that's something interesting too about, like, from what I've seen, is like you really work to develop young chefs and cooks, and thinking about Lawrence Weeks and you got connected with him at Dumplings and Dancing one year, and now he's the chef at Honeywood, executive chef at Honeywood. So, any insight about that of building young chefs?
Yeah, well, here in Kentucky, anytime you see anybody that's super talented, Lawrence's talent, you can spot it a mile away. So when I met him at Dumplings and Dancing, I was making the dinner for that night, and he was getting his fish ready to be for a fish class he was teaching. And I was just looking at the way he was cooking it. I was like, oh, he is really good. And plus, he's so nice, such a nice person. And, I said to but he lived in Louisville, was chefing in Louisville at the time. So I asked Kristen Smith, I'm like, do you think Lawrence would ever come down to Lexington? She's like, no, I doubt it. So I emailed him right away when I got home. I love working with him. He's super creative, and he has a really unique take on Kentucky food and his own story and what he thinks about food. And I'm excited because this week he's given me the new menu. Now we get the fun part of, like, bringing it together around both of our ideas, and it's really a fun process.
So you just published or you're about to publish a book, I guess officially. It'll come out on April 26th, right?
Yes.
Just a few miles south. I have copies of it already and got to hold it. It's a very beautiful book. Tell us a little bit more about what inspired you to write that book, and a little bit about what you can find in it.
Well, I as I've gotten older and we have so many young chefs, they need to be able to run these kitchens without me, like, always being out front. So I knew that at some point my career would change from being in the restaurant kitchen to writing and kind of writing cookbooks. And so this is our first book. We'll definitely plan to start working on the Holly Hill Inn cookbook next. And it took 6 years to write it. because there was just a lot that happened. You know, it's hard to operate restaurants and write cookbooks. I feel like now we're in a position where I could turn more of my attention to writing. We started with all the casual restaurants. So this is the story of Wallace Station and Windy Corner, the bakery, and Smithtown, some degree, Smithtown. And I wanted to tell that story because I wanted to show people how local food could be reflected in a casual restaurant. A lot of times in our food economy in Kentucky and in the United States, our casual restaurant is reflected in in fast food, in centralized big feeding systems like your basic chain restaurant. And so a big part of why I opened all these other small casual restaurants was to show that at least here in Kentucky, you can eat a local hamburger you don't have to go to a chain restaurant, and you can know right where your hamburger comes from, and you can even know it's Patrick Kennedy's ground beef from Taylorsville, and that's the hamburger that's served at Windy Corner at Wallace Station. Same with the pulled pork. So I definitely had that as a mission. And I wanted to reflect that in the book. And I wanted the book to be very approachable for people. So a lot of times when chefs write cookbooks, some of the recipe, they just feel a little unapproachable. They're highly stylized, so there's a lot of photography, and it's all stylized food photography, and it can feel just slightly overwhelming to produce those. And I wanted this book to be something that your kid could pick up and make a muffin. Make your blueberry muffin for Mother's Day and do it themselves, or make tuna salad for lunch, or make the chili, or make the brown beans, or make the cornbread, something like that. So it's a family cookbook, and one that the recipes have been tested and tested and tested. So I feel comfortable that they're going to work.
Well, look at that, Corey. No more peanut butter sandwiches for me. I'm going to use that oven for once.
Yeah. Jordan's been living in an apartment at the settlement school for how long now? August?
It's been months.
He just now opened the oven up last night.
last night I was like, what's in there?
Jordan, what do you eat?
That's what I was wondering.
I don't even know.
Really. At lunch, he'll bring like grapefruits and I don't know what else. Cereal.
It's called the raw diet.
And then apparently he doesn't eat when he goes home either. So
I do. I just never use the oven. I don't know. I guess I eat the same thing over and over. But if they're approachable recipes, then I can try. I'll still probably ruin it, but
my claim to fame is tacos. I think I make a mean taco. Jordan had my tacos last week. You like it?
Yeah, it's great. I was just more interested in his family dynamic and seeing that.
Tacos are fabulous for families.
Yeah. His daughter walks up to the door. She said, "Dad, you get my milk?" Corey goes, "No." She goes, "I'll get it." He goes, "Dank." That's
how millennials talk to their kids.
That's a millennial parent right there.
Yeah.
I just seen it for the first time. It was weird.
It works.
I knew I'd find a way to throw that in.
Yeah.
Dank?
Dank.
That's what the young kids are saying these days. That's my new favorite word right now.
What does it mean? Thank
Cool.
you?
Well,
cool.
I think it has connotations with a particular plant. But the way I've always heard it is in response to or describing a meme that is really great. An excellent meme.
Dank memes.
Dank memes.
So now I'll just use it in any way that I can. It probably doesn't make sense, but
And that's going to get made into a sticker.
dank memes.
Dank memes.
Or dank milk.
Dank milk. Yeah. No, Dank Dad.
Dank
Just have
Dad.
Corey's
Oh,
one.
that's it.
man.
Dank Dad.
That's my new YouTube channel.
Oh, boy. I'm so excited.
Dank Dad. Oh yeah, that's great.
We got so far off track.
Thanks, Jordan.
That's what I'm here for.
Thank you, Jordan. That's another way I've been using it. Instead of saying thank, just say thank you.
We need to get back on
Yes.
topic.
Anyway, the cookbook. The cookbook's coming out on the Settlement School's Fireside Industries imprint, and in conjunction with that, we are working on a gift box with some products that Ouita recommends that you could work with the recipes from the cookbook. It also includes the cookbook if you choose that option. But another option we are making is a cooking class that we are producing through the Makery. And we came up here last month to the Holly Hill Inn and filmed that. And Ouita, what can you tell people about the class that we filmed, and what can they expect from it?
Or should I be really quiet about what we're doing in the class, or no? Or is it a surprise? Or
I mean, you can tell.
I can tell what we're doing, what we're cooking. What
Yeah,
we cooked?
yeah, I think so.
Well, soup, beans, and cornbread is probably our top selling item across our company, or one of them. I mean, maybe the hamburger across everything sells the most, but soup, beans, and cornbread, we've had it on our menu from day one at Wallace Station, Windy Corner, and Zim's. And so we decided, it's in the cookbook, and we decided to do a study in corn for our class. So we're cooking grits, we're making skillet cornbread, we make hot water cornbread, we make corn sticks, and we make did we do spoon bread?
We did spoon bread.
And we did the spoon bread too. So I feel like people hoe cakes. We did hoe cakes. So we wanted to show people everything, like all the different kinds of cornbread that you can make. And the recipe for the skillet cornbread and the hoe cake is in the cookbook with the soup beans. And in the box, you get everything you need to do to make the soup beans.
Yeah, the soup beans.
And there's cornmeal in there too from a very special grist mill that we had come visit us at the Heinemann Settlement School 2 years ago for dumplings and dancing. So that is going to be not county ground. So that's kind of a cool thing, I think, to make the cornbread with.
Yeah. Actually, I got a sample box over here. I brought some pickles for the Tappahannock pickles that'll be in the box.
Awesome.
I don't know if you got to try these yet. So if you wanted to try one,
I would love to try one.
that was actually the sample batch we made. Of Lois came and showed us her recipe and all that stuff.
This is Lois's recipe?
Yep.
Lois Matus's famous recipe?
Yep.
That's a solid seal right there.
That is a solid seal. Oh, these look so good, you all. We always serve the soup, beans, and cornbread with sliced white onion and pickles.
This is more of a sweet pickle.
These are
actually.
good.
Yeah, they are good.
Oh, my gosh.
Looky there. We just sold 1,000 batches of pickles.
Tappahannock pickles. It's a good thing I got lots of cucumbers starting to come in now.
Yeah, get ready. How many jars can you all make at a time? I better quit eating on the radio. That's not nice.
We have, I don't really know. Vivian and Diane do all the canning and all that stuff. We have
Who doesn't love Vivian? Can I just say who does not love Vivian
true.
and Diane?
Yes.
I love them. Love you all.
and they love you. Yeah, I don't know how many we can do at a time. I know we got 2 of the big water bath.
Oh, but a
canners.
lot. That's several then at once.
So yeah, if we very small batch.
That's what makes it special.
Yeah.
Each one's made with love.
Artisanal small batch production.
If we could just sell them for $5,000 a jar,
Yeah,
we'd be in it.
That'd be great.
Love is pricey.
So speaking of the settlement school and all of that, how did you become interested in sort of Appalachian, Eastern Kentucky cooking, and how did you get involved with Heinemann?
Well, I started coming to Heinemann when the Artisan Center was built. So people may remember there was a little cafe in the back of the Artisan Center. And originally, my husband, Chris, and I designed the cafe menu and the cafe after Wallace Station.
Oh.
So we had renamed all the sandwiches from different places around Knott County and in the area. And we had a Troublesome Creek something. I can't remember what it was now. So we came up quite a bit. Bill and Lois Weinberg were really good friends of my mother and stepfathers. And so I'd known them pretty much since I was, very young. And when we came up to do a lot of the work at the Artisan Center, a lot of times we would stay at the settlement school. And got kind of interested, and I knew a little bit about the Appalachian Writers Workshop. I knew a little bit about the dyslexia programs from Lois, and then I knew a tiny bit about just the Family Folk Week. I didn't really know anything else about it. And our previous director, Brent Hutchinson, had asked me, and Brett Ratliff, who was the program director at the time, Brett had the idea of doing a dinner called Dumplings and Dancing, and he called me about it, and I'd never met him. We became fast friends, and I agreed to come up. The first time was an unmitigated disaster, culinary disaster. and I don't think either one of you were there at that time, but it was about 5 years ago. Were you there?
Wasn't.
I probably was like a Vista at that point or something, but I don't know if I actually came to the event. But.
Brett found the weirdest smoker known to mankind from someone local.
Okay, yeah. I went and picked that up. I remember that now.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so the smoker was weird, but I could have coped. It was the biggest hog I had ever seen in my whole life. So normally when I do a whole hog, and I do them all the time, I get up really early and I start them very early in the morning and they're ready by dinner time. And like I do them here at Holly Hill, I might get up at 5, and then we put them on a smoker at 4:30 and they're ready. That hog literally looked like a wild boar. I mean, it had a giant hump on its back. We could barely get it in the smoker. I had never seen a pig that big in my life. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I'd never seen a smoker like that in my life. Well, it caught fire. Like everything that could happen did happen. And about an hour before the dinner, I realized the pig was basically raw. It wasn't going to cook, maybe 2 hours. So we unloaded that thing. I broke it down. And we roasted all the meat in those ovens at the Honeywood Settlement School. It was wild, but we had a wonderful time. And there's something about the school that it feels like home to me. I'm not from Eastern Kentucky. I have a deep appreciation for Appalachia and the things that they've given to the Kentucky culture and to the culture of the United States. But it's not but I'm not from there. But I don't know what it is. It just speaks to me in a way. I feel when I walk onto the settlement school, I just feel like I'm at home. I felt that way right away. I love square dancing. Never had square dance since the 7th grade. I love square dancing. I love everything that the settlement school stands for and what it tries to preserve and enrich in its community, and also how it tries to reach out and explain its culture to other people so they can enter into that culture and appreciate it more.
I mean, that thing you said about us, I guess being welcoming in a way. I thought about that too. It's just like people from all over, when they come to the settlement school, they feel this certain feeling of warmth. And I'm just, I feel it too. I'm not from Hindman. I'm from Leslie County, but settlement school does feel like home. And I guess that's more so than because I have an apartment there. But
it actually is home to you.
Yeah.
It's home and work for us. We never leave work, technically.
Yeah, me and Corey were constantly on campus.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, better than a lot of other places we could have been. So
I mean, yeah, I love being at work and home. I don't have to. The best thing, like living in Louisville, when I was going to school up there and all that stuff and working, it's like I got to travel 30 minutes in traffic to get to work. Now I can walk to work.
Yeah.
Actually, I can just go outside and there's the greenhouses. So I just on the weekends, I just go out there and do some stuff, piddle around.
I just walk down the
Get
hill.
some things done. Yeah.
In the office.
It's nice living where you work in many ways.
So we talked a lot about your past, and a lot of the things that you've got in the pipeline right now. But what are your plans for the future? Are you going to have a new restaurant, new recipes? You said you're working on another book.
Yeah, I'd like to start working on another book. I am not opening any more restaurants. I feel like we have what we need, and I don't want to expand anymore. I would be an investor maybe in some of my staff if they wanted to open a restaurant. I'd be hard pressed to say, not to be involved in any way as a support. But in general, I love the restaurants that we have. I want to make them better and better. I don't see any need to expand into new locations. But I also really do feel like it's important for us as a restaurant company to develop alternative revenue streams just in case this happens again or it takes longer than we think to get everybody vaccinated and to beat back some of the variants that we see coming from COVID-19. So I am working on curating a Kentucky pantry that'll be available online and some other video projects and things like that I'm very excited about. You'll hear more about them probably in the fall. Okay. It takes me a while to get everything organized and together, but yeah, I'm very excited about it.
So everybody mark your calendars for this coming fall. And we like to do a little thing here in the Hyman Cast, and it's the lightning round. So we just ask a bunch of questions.
And I will say you got an easy lightning round because usually we ask some either really weird or difficult questions for people. But
I think these are equally as dumb.
Well, yeah, they have.
How do you prepare grapefruit?
They have their quirks to them.
You know, that's a good question. Spoon.
Spoon.
Jordan, you say there's like a specific grapefruit spoon?
Yes.
There is.
Okay, there is.
See?
You didn't know that?
No, I don't eat grapefruit.
Look at that.
I think grapefruit's really, really bad.
Now everyone's going to think you're the one that's wrong.
Well, I am, I guess.
Alrighty. So let's get going. So if you could be any type of food, what type of food would you be and why?
Oh my gosh.
See, told you.
Oh, this is tough. I might be an egg. Number one, if you get a local egg, I love that color yellow. They're very versatile, and they have a hard shell to protect them.
Look at that. Solid answer.
Solid answer. Yeah. Jordan, I'm gonna let you ask this question
I
because
couldn't
you thought
find
of it.
another way to word it, so it's gonna.
I'm getting scared.
It's gonna sound a little morbid.
Yeah. So what would you have for your last meal?
Oh, what would I have for my last meal? It might depend on whether I know it's my last meal or not. But I think, oh boy, that's so hard. What would I have for my last meal? My mother's hillbilly cobbler. I know I shouldn't call it that anymore, but that's what she called it. That I love with half and half cream. That'd be dessert. And kilt salad with the hot bacon vinaigrette, hot bacon on spring lettuce, and a really extremely good steak. I mean, thick, 2 inches, lots of sea salt, and a baked potato, and maybe fresh corn on the cob or corn off the cob corn pudding, right in the middle of summer.
That's solid.
That is solid. So what is hillbilly cobbler? What is that exactly?
It's you get a stick of butter and put it in your cobbler pan, put that in the oven. You make a batter out of a cup of sugar, a cup of flour, a cup of milk, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a little pinch of salt. You pour that batter into the middle of the butter, and then you take 4 cups of fruit or 5 cups, and you put the fruit into the middle of the batter, and you bake it at about 375 for 30 or 40 minutes. It's one of my favorite things in the world.
Is that in a cookbook somewhere? Or
Not yet.
Okay.
It's not in the new cookbook. It might be in the one coming.
Oh, okay. Do you use that recipe at your restaurants anywhere? Or?
I have, but that was my birthday cake. My mom, I don't know. In our family, that's what we have for birthday cake every year. So
I had a watermelon for my birthday cake this year. Just put candles in the car.
He's going with the fruit theme.
That's all they eat.
Grapefruit and
delicious. You can't go wrong with it. You can't burn it.
One of the most peculiar things about Jordan is he'll get like a 2-quart size of cherry tomatoes and get popcorn salt. This is what he was doing this morning before we left and came up here, and just salt each little tomato and eat the entire thing in one sitting.
The popcorn salt really brings the flavor out. Smaller granules.
I worry about you.
I do too. I became very concerned while driving.
Many people do. For good reason most of the time. Okay, so
we may have already answered this question.
Oh, did we?
If we got the cobbler. But yeah, we'll go ahead and
It could be different.
It could be different. We'll see.
What's your favorite meal from your childhood?
Favorite meal from my childhood? Well, I'd have to say that is one of my favorites, that cobbler that Mom made. My grandmother's taco salad. Doritos, kidney beans drained, iceberg lettuce, Thousand Island dressing, ground beef, grated sharp cheddar cheese in the little Cracker Barrel log, and tomatoes. I love that salad. I haven't had it in a long time.
I love a good taco salad.
I love a good taco salad.
I mean, you can't go wrong with it. It's just deconstructed tacos.
All mixed up.
Yeah.
Dank.
Dank. Yes. My life is completely.
That's what you should name this episode.
Just dank.
Dank. With Ouita Michel.
The dankest episode with Ouita Michel.
One of my young cooks called me a goat one time. And I was like, what? Did you just call me? He's like, greatest of all time. He got all scared. And I'm like, I'd never even heard that in my whole life. I'm like, what are you even talking about, son? It was so funny. You're just a goat.
Corey likes to bring up the GOAT all the time.
But I'm referring to Tom Brady.
Yeah, who is not the GOAT? You can be a GOAT if you cheat. That's
You can cheat. Okay, last question. Outside of cooking, what are some of your hobbies?
Outside of cooking, I love to color. You know those adult coloring books that everybody buys?
yes.
I'm a colorer. I am like it helps me relax. So I really love coloring. I know that sounds crazy, but
It's like crayons, or are you using colored
no,
pencils? Or
I use colored pencils, and sometimes I use markers, but mainly colored pencils.
She's a classy lady.
classy.
Classy.
Do you like a mandala?
Yes.
I love mandalas.
Love mandalas.
What is that?
It's just like a little pattern.
Oh, okay.
It's usually in a circle, or some, not always, but usually in a circle. And the Tibetan monks come when they came to Berea College. I don't know if you remember. This was some years ago, and they make a mandala out of sand, and it's incredible and intricate, and then they blow it all away.
Interesting.
I love that. I love when people make art and then destroy it.
Yeah.
It's just there's something poetic about it. I don't know.
Sounds sad. Put all that work in and just annihilate it.
I do that all the time.
It's true. All right, Ouita, what are some ways people can keep up with the work that you're doing? Where would they go to on social media or the internet to keep track?
Well, I have a Twitter account, Chef Ouita. I think it's Chef Ouita, at Chef Ouita. And then I have Instagram. I think I'm Ouita Michel on Instagram. And online at OuitaMichel.com and Chef Ouita Michel on Facebook. So it's hard to avoid me.
Yes. And follow the restaurant Facebook pages. You will get updates on wonderful foods that they're offering. I like to follow Lawrence and keep up with all of his things happening. And
The photographs of the Honeywood
Yes,
cuisine is
yes.
really, really great.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Makes me want to drive to Lexington, which is a difficult thing to do sometimes, but
I do every weekend.
Jordan does it every weekend. All right, Ouita, we appreciate you for coming on the episode with us this week, and we got some other things we're going to work on for the box here in a second. So thank you again.
Thank you all.
Corey. No. What? Why are we doing this?
Is this how you play a bagpipe?
No, not at all.
That episode was dank, wasn't it, Jordan?
I guess. I don't remember any of it. I love that this is our new thing where we choose a different song every time.
Yeah.
I guess we have a major listener drop off, though, so it's fine. It's fine.
We play another song every week, and probably illegally because I didn't get permission to do this. But
Yeah, and I never get to choose them, so that's good.
Whoa. It's all right. It's all good.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll never know.
Tension.
So, yeah. Well, Jordan doesn't have any recollection of the episode that we had with Ouita. We're actually about probably a week and a half or 2 weeks after.
I have no
We
idea.
recorded it early because we were going up there and getting it knocked out.
2 days, 2 months.
yeah.
They're all the same.
So we got things done, and now here we are on the day it's supposed to be released and finishing up the episode. Being sure to be consistent as Jordan demands, and make sure that we have this announcement.
I'm
and
pretty
bonus
sure
section.
last week I said, Corey, you want to record this podcast? And he said no. And I have recording of him
I didn't
doing
have
it.
time. All right. Anyway, so we'll get to some announcements. First of all, this week you can tune into our Pick and Bow Variety Show. It will be broadcast live on the Settlement School's Facebook page at 5 p.m. this Friday, April 30th. So for the past 12 weeks, students from Knott and surrounding counties have been learning how to play the fiddle, banjo, mandolin, guitar, dulcimer, and ukulele. So you can come tune in on Facebook and to listen to all that they've learned and help them celebrate and what they've accomplished this semester. And also, the opening day for the Knott County Farmers Market is coming up on May 18th, and those will run weekly from 4 to 6 p.m. Looking forward to that. I need somewhere to sell my cucumbers and all the other wonderful things I'm growing right now.
I just want to eat them. We also have the Settlement School wish list, summer school wish list for the dyslexia program. So if you want to support the program and the kids and help them read, you can find our wish list on Facebook, or you can email us at info@heineman.org and get some more information on that. So support that program.
And while we should support the dyslexia program, I do say I have things on that wish list too.
Yeah, we all do.
for farm stuff. Then
Traditional arts does, dyslexia does, and so does the farm. So you can support whatever part of Hyman you love by getting on that wish list.
yeah, and also we have officially announced the Ouita Michel gift box that we are selling in conjunction with the release of her book, which we talked about in this episode. So you can pick that up on our website, hyman.org//shop. One of these days I'll remember that. Okay. Yeah, so go /shop and you can pick up a Ouita Michel gift box from there. And as always, we want to recognize our donors. And this week we want to recognize the Kentucky Social Welfare Foundation, who recently awarded us with a grant, and Paulette Anderson and Hillary Davies. And we thank you all for your support. And golf clap very softly. We thank you for your support, and we hope that you have enjoyed this episode. And my name is Corey Terry.
And I'm Jordan Collins.
And we'll see you next time.
The Hymancast is brought to you by the faithful and generous supporters of the Hyman Settlement School. For over 100 years, we've been celebrating heritage and changing lives in Central Appalachia. If you're interested in supporting the work of Hyman Settlement School, you can go to our website at www.hyman.org, or you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the handle @HymanSchool.